This is your latest Manchester United transfer news. Lots to get into on the show this morning. Developments around Real Madrid and how that impacts on Tchouaméni. There's talk that we would be willing to spend up to £75 million on him. Do you believe that? We'll delve into that. Stuff from Spain, stuff from the UK as well. Also further developments on Alex Scott, Summerville. Ta-da! It's Sarr. He's being mentioned as well for Manchester United. Okay, let me talk to you about Summerville. So, numerous people talking about Crysencio Summerville of West Ham coming to Manchester United. Apparently, we've held talks with West Ham about doing this. However, Simon Jones in the Daily Mail is saying that we would have to decide what we're doing with Rashford first. There is also a story coming in, I think it was Alex Crook, about Sarr from Crystal Palace. Ta-da! It's Sarr. So look, we are where we are. We're apparently holding talks with Somerville at West Ham. We might go for Sarr. I actually thought Toure of Hoffenheim would have been an interesting one at a good price. He's going to Newcastle. If he goes to Newcastle and tears it up, we can take the piss out of United on that because I think he's a good signing. But you know, we'll see what happens. With regards to Somerville, I think it's a bit of a meh signing, if I'm being completely honest. I did a video on it already, so I'm not going to delve into the player too much. We do need a right-footed winger, and he is a right-footed winger. But again, it feels a bit like an Everton signing. I don't feel like it's the sort of signing that you get up off your chair and go, we're back. He's cheap as well. I think he's a good player. But is it the sort of signing that takes Man United to winning the league? No, not for me. Is it the sort of signing that's going to make Man United win the Champions League? No, not for me. I think it's a decent signing. I don't think it's a particularly world-breaking signing. But the most interesting part about it for me is actually how we've got to sell to buy to do that. So it's not something that's going to happen for a very long time, is it? We've got to decide what's happening with Rashford before we go for Summerville. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Rashford's at a World Cup, and it doesn't seem to me like we're going to find out what's happening with Rashford anytime soon. So effectively, is this not just more spin? We're in talks with Summerville, but we can't do anything till we know what's happening with Rashford. We might not know what's happening with Rashford for 2 months. So what even is the Summerville story? One, I don't think it's massively exciting, and two, it's not like you're going to bid for him today because you've got to wait to see what's happening with Rashford. And we've already been down this road before. We're signing Agate, right? And we know about it in July, but it won't happen till we've got rid of McTominay. McTominay doesn't get sold till the end of August. We don't sign Agate until the end of August. So, you know, we want De Ligt and we want Mazraoui in July, but we need to move some players on first. We don't sign them till the middle of August. So, you know, even if you're excited about Summerville, and fair play if you are, it's clearly not going to be a deal that happens for a few weeks anyway. So I go back to what I said after the Tchouaméni and Scott updates, which I just do not believe. It feels like we're not even in talks with anyone, you know? And we've proven again that we're still averaging 4 to 6 weeks from starting talks to getting a deal done. Mateus Fernandes, if he'd signed for Man United, it would have been about 5 weeks. We're not even in talks with anyone now. So I don't even know if we're going to sign anyone in early July like we normally do, because we're not in talks with anybody. And even if Summerville develops, you've still got to wait for Rashford to decide what he's doing before we can even move on that. Talking about Alex Scott, let's just pick up on this, because Fabrizio also said that Scott is highlighted as one of Man United's internally highly rated midfielders, with Arsenal also liking him as well. After missing out on other players, both clubs, both Arsenal and Manchester United, view Scott positively, but Bournemouth currently insist on keeping the player and are offering him a new contract, meaning he's not for sale right now. However, if Bournemouth receives big proposals and opens the door to an exit, Arsenal and Man United are the two clubs to watch closely as keen suitors. Now look, I like Fabrizio and he's just doing his job, but even in his own update, it contradicts who we are. You know, he says Bournemouth are not selling Alex Scott at the moment and want him to sign a new contract. However, if there is big offers, they may open the door, and Man United are watching the situation closely. But Man United and big offers don't go together, do they? And I agree with Stuart. I don't think there's any chance of Alex Scott. I really don't. I don't think there's any chance of Tchouaméni today, and I don't think there's any chance of Alex Scott. And hence the thumbnail spin. I think United are in a downward spiral, desperately trying to attach themselves onto something that will stop it, where fans will go, this is not a mess. But it's very obvious to me. Look, unless Alex Scott turns into a Anthony situation or an Isak situation where he's refusing to train and he's demanding a move, I don't see how that develops. I really don't see how that develops. And I also would advise Alex Scott not to do that. I don't really like players who do that. I don't think it bodes well for them as a character to do that. I don't think that's a Manchester United player to shit on the club that gave you a platform to get a move. Some United fans love it. Some Man United fans love it when a player basically goes on strike to get a move to United. But that player could do that to us in 3 years' time to go to Real Madrid. So it's not really a trait I like. But unless that happens, that may be the only way this happens. If Alex Scott turns up to Bournemouth's training ground and says, I'm not training, I'm on strike, and he's walking around in the latest Man United kit, we probably will get him because the price will have to come down and Bournemouth will have to sell eventually. It might not happen till late August, but it would force a move. But that's not being good at transfers, is it? That's just being lucky that I mean, look, ultimately Alex Scott becomes your director of football, not Jason Wilcox. If Alex Scott goes on strike saying I want to sign for Man United, he basically does Jason Wilcox's job getting the price down, doesn't he? So I don't think that's very likely. I don't think that's very likely at all. But they're the two big stories this morning: Tchouaméni and Alex Scott. And honestly, and there's another update from Simon Jones in the Daily Mail, which I'll read you in a minute. But honestly, I think that I have to be honest. We bring the news and we don't censor it, and you make your own opinion up. Some people will go, well, I like this news, I believe in this news. There was one other thing on Xerxes that came in from The Athletic. On Xerxes, not aware of anything. Roma were interested in January. That's not a priority at the moment. So, I mean, I mentioned this yesterday about Xerxes. Explain to me how Man United are happy with a player that has been poor for 2 years, not been used by the current manager, hasn't gone to the World Cup, could easily have been told to find a new club. Explain to me why, in the first week of July, he's preparing to come back for pre-season like he's an important part of the squad. I just don't get it. I just don't get the Xerxes thing. Why he's not been told to go, I do not know. And look, he's happy at United. We know that. He's happy at United. He's happy being a, bench player. So I think with Xerxes, it's just everywhere you look at the moment, there's not a lot to be happy about, is there? We're not moving players out. Obviously, Agate got that bad injury at the weekend. Rashford's got to have his talks with United. Xerxes staying, Mount staying, Luke Shaw staying, Maguire's obviously signed a new contract. There's no prospect of anybody going out, and there's no prospect of anyone coming in at the moment. So at the moment, a transfer window is about selling and buying, and at the moment, it's an absolute shit show on both. It won't stay that way. We will move on somebody, which is why I keep mentioning Manu Kone, maybe a Stiller, because I can't see it being Scott, and I don't think it's I don't think it's Tchouaméni. What about Palhinha? Well, yeah, let's go and get Palhinha on loan, a player that Spurs don't want to keep. I mean, as I say, if we're behind Spurs in the food chain, let's go and get Sander Berg. Let's go and get Baleba. De Zerbi didn't want him, and he trained him. The season has not started yet and it's already ruined, says Stig. The incompetence of the board has made me lose all hope for the season. There is no desire, says Stig. Slazy says, which players do you feel have increased their market value the most during the World Cup? For me, it might be Patrick Berg or Nusa from Norway, says Slazy. I'd love Nusa at Man United. I don't know why we're looking at bloody Summerville. Nusa is 10 times the player and younger and will be better. But, you know, again, we're not looking at the right player. I can't see us signing a left winger with Rashford being here. Wouldn't be surprised if Carrick takes Rashford in. Do we have another yes man at the job, says Alan. I think Carrick's a yes man, yeah. I don't think that's even an insult. Jake says, come on you Spurs, you've been food chained. Rail's statement as it shows control, says Harv. Yes, done that one. Thank you. Okay, look, I'm absolutely exhausted. I do think I need to get a couple of hours sleep. Let me tell you what's coming up for the rest of the day. We've got a 2 o'clock show, of course, from the studio. It's Australia against Egypt at 7 o'clock, which sort of messes up me doing an 8 o'clock show or a 7 o'clock show. So I'm actually going to do a 9 o'clock show on the United Stand tonight. So we'll be live at 9, unless there's extra time, in which case we'll be live a little bit later. But we are doing an evening show, but it's going to be somewhere between 9 and 10, depending on the Egypt-Australia extra time or not, which is live on That's Football. After that, I'm then doing the Argentina game at 11 o'clock. So that's what the plan is today. Big weekend on the World Cup as well. Just for actually World Cup watch. No minutes for Delo. No minutes for Mainu. Bruno got subbed. Obviously, Ahmad's on his way home. It's not. I don't think it's been a particularly good. Casemiro is not a Man United player anymore. Ederson's not getting any minutes. It's not actually been a great World Cup for Man United so far, has it? But look, in relation to Bruno, I think it's just Roberto Martinez is a shit coach, and effectively, I'm not that bothered. We do use Cunha's doing well. Cunha's doing well, yeah. We are, we use Bruno well. They don't know how to use Bruno, so I think that's what that's all about. Mazraoui's having a good World Cup as well. But my point about Bruno was there was a point last night where I was like, well, Roberto Martinez doesn't know how to use him. You can see he's frustrated. If Portugal get knocked out, Bruno would actually be back in pre-season training by the end of the month. It's not going to happen now, but there would have been a bit of a positive. Mira says we were speaking about a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3 midfielder. Now there is no tier 1. It's totally gone. I think this is. I mean, I sort of was alluding to this yesterday when I was on the shelf. Not on the shelf. I was pointing at the shelf. I don't think there is a tier 1 Casemiro replacement now. I think they're all gone. You're right. I think they're all gone. Ryan says, can you shout out my friends Ryan, Webb and Steenie and ask them to come off Fortnite duos? And that's from Ryan as well. Get off Fortnite duos. What are you doing that? What are you doing on that at 10:58 in the morning? Get a life. Actually, I'm just off to play Fortnite duos. Right. Okay. Thank you everybody for watching. That was a bit of a battle for me today because I'm actually, I'm surprised I can get sentences out. I'm operating on hardly any sleep. I need to catch up. But thank you so much for tuning in as always. We are back at 2. I will be back with a live show later on tonight after the Egypt-Australia game. And I will speak to you all in a bit. Look, who knows? I think at some point, my positive... I'm going to try and end shows from now on with a positive thought for the day. Because there's a lot of negativity out there and it's not driven by us. That's driven by reality. My positive end for the day, I'm going to try and end every show positively from now on. My positive thought for the day is that at some point in the next few hours or days, Manchester United are going to land on the midfielder that we're actually going for. Now, you might not like the name of that, and it could be a Manu Kone, like I said. It could be an Angelo Stiller. It could be a Siddiqui from Sunderland. It won't. I don't believe it will be Alex Scott or Tchouaméni. I don't think those deals are doable for us. But at some point in the next few hours or days, we will find out who the real target is for Man United next. And we will be here to react. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. I'm running out of words here. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you on the next one.